even when we wanted to traveling had to be planned in a way to deal with my pain and the way I needed to treat the pain. So it's completely it's life changing.
Eva, how did you find carnivore?
Dave, thanks so much for asking. I'm so excited to talk to you about this because I love your channel and what you're doing. So, gosh, what a story. I struggled with my weight and my health most of my life, and I tried everything. My mother, God bless her, threw everything at me all my life, and it was constant yo-yo throughout my teenage, my 20s. And at some point I discovered, so the backstory is I believed at one point through someone I trusted and admired that the way to deal with my health challenges throughout my childhood and in my 20s was to be vegetarian. My father struggled with heart disease for most of his life, and I grew up hearing doctors tell him to stay away from red meat and dairy and cholesterol and all of those things and seafood. And so I believed that it was the same for me. And I went headfirst into the vegetarian world. Later on, I became vegan. Then I took it really seriously and I became a raw vegan. Traveled the world, learned how to cook fancy vegan dishes that tasted like bacon and that tasted like chicken and beef. Everything that we did to just get through the lifestyle. And um, that was actually part of my journey to carnivore, because that way of eating, which was about 5 or 6 years leading up to 2016, I beg your pardon. So for about 5 or 6 years leading up to 2016, um, being a vegan and then a raw vegan, I got really ill. Um, And I think there was quite a bit of denial, because I truly believed this was the way. And if I just give it more and more time, my body will adjust. But I think in my last year of veganism was when I really got a reality check with my family's help. Um, I stopped, I lost my monthly cycle and I stopped ovulating according to my OBGYN. And throughout all that time, I never managed to heal my PCOS. So I had polycystic ovarian syndrome since I was about 18. And after 5 or 6 years vegan vegetarian, it didn't help that. And when I started getting to that point where I had no monthly cycle and my hair was falling out and my skin wasn't doing so well, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm done. I've given it enough time and I will just get back to eating the way I grew up, the way my family eats, which was standard. So I went back to eating the way I was, but I also had meat again. And I'll never forget the first time I started eating beef. it was it was like my brain switched on. It was like a cloud lifted, and that was it. I had stopped the vegan vegetarian way, and I carried on the way, the standard way. Here in South Africa, standard is the same as in the USA. Our standard lifestyle is a little bit of everything. So I went back to the point where now I haven't resolved my health issues and my PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. My husband found an incredible doctor for me to see in 2018. And he was quite an incredible man. And he gave me quite a rude awakening. And he said that with my PCOS, and I was very estrogen dominant, I had a lot of hormonal problems. He told me that I need to immediately go keto. And I didn't know what keto was at the time, and he explained it to me, and he immediately put me on a protocol of the keto lifestyle with intermittent fasting to deal with all of that stuff. So he put me on a 16-8 intermittent fasting window with strictly keto, cut out all sugar, all carbohydrates, all processed food. Dave, it was an incredible lifestyle. I loved it. It was, for the first time in my life, it was something that I was able to stick to. I didn't have cravings. I didn't find myself binging from being hungry all the time, because when I was standard American and vegetarian before that, I was hungry all the time and snacking all the time. So on keto, it was quite an incredible transformation. And it took a long time. It took 2 years to really heal my body, but it was worth it. I always thought, I was taught that the slower the change, the better, the more permanent. And I loved that protocol. I saw my doctor from time to time. It was the first doctor I ever had that said, please don't limit your fat intake. Have as much as you care for, which was very new to me. And I think that's why I wasn't hungry anymore. So keto was going amazingly, and I got into that world. And Dr. Berg was one of my favorite. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Berg, and I learned a lot from him, and I continued that way. And I think from being in that YouTube world of Dr. Berg and leading on to other people, in 2021, I discovered Dr. Berry, my all-time favorite, Dr. Ken Berry. He changed my life. And I was consuming a huge amount of his content for weeks and weeks, like binging constantly. And then I went on to Steak and Butter Gal and Dr. Anthony Chaffee. They were the core mentors of mine. And I was sitting on the sofa one evening, and I told my husband, I want to try this carnivore thing, because I had now been keto for about 3 years, very happy. I had lost over the first 2 years of keto what I needed to lose for my health, which was 20 kilograms. What is that? Like 40 odd pounds.
Yeah, 44 pounds, I think.
Yeah, and I'm a small frame. I'm quite short, so it was quite a lot of weight loss, and my health was transformed by keto. I was doing amazingly well. My hormones balanced very quickly into keto. I got my cycle back. My hair was growing back, and but after 3 years of keto, I think I felt like I hit a plateau, and I wanted more. I wanted more health. I hadn't yet gotten rid of all of the cysts in my reproductive system. A huge reduction and a lot of healing, but not completely gone. And I wanted to change my body composition more, and I wanted to start weightlifting and trying some new things. And it was one evening I thought, I want to give this thing a go after the very last video I watched of Dr. Ken Berry. And I said, I'm going to give it a go for 30 days. And my husband said to me, just do it properly. If you really want to see if this works or not, give it the full 90 days that it deserves. So he joined me on that. We did carnivore for 90 days. And I think 90 days to the day that I started, because I started that evening in March 2021. And I prepped for dinner just a whole tray of bacon, just bacon. I left the broccoli out. I left the olives out. And 90 days to the day, I went to see my doctor, and I went for a second opinion immediately because I didn't believe it. All the PCOS was gone. There was no sign of any scar tissue. There were no cysts. It was all gone. I'm like, this, it's not possible. It's been like this since I was 18. And I went to another professional, OBGYN, that's been my sister's OBGYN for many years. And I went to see her, and she said the same thing. We did the scans, we did blood work, and there was nothing there. And I felt incredible, Dave. I've never felt so free since that 90 days. Eat as much as I wanted. The fat was incredible. And I think the fat is what helped my hormones and all the healing, especially from the research I was doing. And it hasn't changed since then in 2021. And so it's 3 years now almost.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
Um, and has your husband stuck with it too for that time?
So he stuck with it with me for 1 year into 2022. And since then, he's decided to be more ketovore. So I'm in control of our menu. We eat the same thing all the time, but he does add things that he likes that is perfectly fine for him, which is dairy. He has no problem with dairy and cheese, but on the ketovore side, he likes his salad from time to time and avocado and olives and nuts. So he'll be more ketovore, but yeah, pretty much there's nothing else that we eat or that he eats.
The fact that it's such a weight off your mind that the PCOS is completely gone. I mean, that just lifts such a big weight off you, right?
It's life changing, Dave. It actually impacted a lot of things. You know, the constant pain, the skin problems that it caused, the fatigue, but mostly pain. A lot of pain all the time. It was normal to live on anti-inflammatories and painkillers and heat packs and not being able to do a lot of activity that I wanted to do. Even when we wanted to travel, traveling had to be planned in a way to deal with my pain and the way I needed to treat the pain. So it's completely it's life changing. It had a big knock-on effect in a lot of different areas, and I think PCOS is insulin resistance. I learned that from Berg, Dr. Eric Berg, that it is purely insulin resistance. And so when that was something I started addressing through my diet, that's I think what changed everything else: the weight, the hormone problems, the anxiety. In hindsight, I think there was a lot of depression with that as well, because another impact of the PCOS was miscarriage for me. And that was quite stressful and painful. And so up until keto and carnivore, I was told by a lot of doctors, you just deal with the PCOS. And part of that dealing with the PCOS was taking it's a type of diabetes drug to manage diabetes because it's about insulin resistance. So it was about drinking and staying on glucophage and Insumax Q, these drugs constantly. And doctors would tell me, you can't treat the cause of PCOS or insulin resistance except for this particular drug. And everyone I saw was, of the opinion that your diet's not really going to make a big difference to this. It's a lot about environment, lifestyle, stress levels, and you can't really control those things. And they felt that they haven't found that diet worked at all. So it was staying on insulin resistant medication and it wasn't helping. And the diet obviously healed the PCOS, carnivore and keto, but healing the insulin resistance healed everything else as well. Then it was easy for the weight to come off, for my brain to balance out and to think clearly and to not have these mood swings and cravings all the time. So it is a completely different human being up until 2021 versus now. And I can't see myself going back because there's nothing else that's this easy and that is this healing. There's nothing else. And I can't get tired of it, Dave. My family ask me, are you not tired of lamb and beef? I can't. It's like day one still. It's still too delicious and too easy. It's incredible. Yeah, no going back.
So regarding that, you tell them, I can't get bored of this. I can't get tired of this. why don't
Yeah.
you try it? And what's their reaction?
It's interesting because I think it's very much like what I saw online recently. If when we get together and we eat a standard buffet of everything, rice and potatoes and pudding, that's not a problem. I'm not judged for that, in my past life. But the minute I'm like, I only eat meat, then it's like there's something wrong with you. You can't eat like that. And I can see in their face it's not adding up, because I look a lot healthier than I used to look. The people that have worked with me for many years and my family, and they can see it's not adding up, that you look great or greater than you did. You've got a lot of energy. You work long hours. You don't sleep as much. Your skin is better. Your hair's grown back. All these things that they see for themselves, but they don't equate that to what I'm telling them, which is just eat meat, have some lamb, as much fat as you want. And it's it's not sitting in, it's not sinking in for them. I'm grateful though that in terms of my inner circle, my close family, my sister, my brother-in-law, my mom, um, they were very apprehensive in the beginning, and they warned me my health is going to get worse. And after, I'd say, about 2 years of sticking to it, they started wanting more of they started wanting to experience what I was experiencing. So as a family, we would eat like this together, cook together, eat together. My sister went on to Carnivore for a few months with her husband, and they had incredible results. They never stayed carnivore, but they pretty much found their middle ground, which was like a ketovore. Um, my mom as well, she came on from quite a vegetarian lifestyle for her. She's now on to eating a lot more meat with that and cutting out more processed food. So it's impacted everyone in a good way, but certainly not as much as it's impacted me, I guess, because I'm all in. It's like 100%.
Yeah. So as someone that's all in, and you don't get tired of this, as you said, do you find you're the type of person that wants to tell everyone about it, or do you just kind of keep it to yourself?
In the beginning, I did, but now I keep it to myself until people start engaging in the conversation. For some reason, the conversation always comes up, though. It always comes up, and I wait for the question, and then I will tell them the whole story that I've just told you. And I won't hold back. It comes up because when we go to family events, when we go to restaurants, I always call ahead and I speak to the chef or the cook, and I tell them what I need, what I want. And when my family and friends see, or new people in my life see how I eat, colleagues at work, they do ask. And then I go all in. A lot of people dismiss it, and there are a few of them that will call me up a few weeks later and say, hey, just tell me that again. What exactly is that you were doing? How are you doing it? How often do you eat? What do you eat? So, each to their own. I spent a few days in the last month. We were traveling, and I spent some time with someone that is very, very um, vegan and very passionate about that lifestyle, and carrying all these supplements around, and a whole bag of this and a whole bag of that supplement. And it was the first time that I didn't say anything at all. I was tempted, and I didn't say anything because I used to be that person. And if someone told me then that you've got to eat meat, I thought I'd think they're trying to kill me. But it did come up, and my husband was the spokesperson, and he spoke about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I just left it alone. But for the most part, I won't speak about it unless I'm asked.
As an ex-vegan, um, how what's the mindset when you're a vegan, as far as taking all the supplements and even if you feel bad, it's like I'm doing the right thing. What's the kind of mindset you've got going on?
That's interesting. I think I've got to think back to that person because I was so different and my mindset was different. And if I had to put it in one word, it was very anxious and a controlling nature. Not a happy, generally not a happy person. Um, it's interesting how it's easy to be convinced of something until I have an experience of it myself at the time. It was easy to understand from experts around the world that plant matter is the only way to eat. And I got so dogmatic and strict about it that I forced it on my family and I was mean about it. And I was quite, with respect, I know a lot of vegans and vegetarians, and I love you all and I respect you all. But the way I became as a vegan vegetarian was almost like a cult where the mindset was more judgmental on the rest of everyone that wasn't doing what I was doing. And it was a bit of a brainwash for me because I couldn't see what it was doing to my body. I was just buying into the data and into the maybe is it I don't know if it is propaganda because I think it does work for some people depending on what their background is and whether they're coming from the standard American diet, but the mindset was very controlling. And it was a difficult life because I was hungry all the time. And then I understood, and then I learned that, okay, agriculture is not the way it was when my mother was my age. And so I've got a supplement. And it was constantly eating a huge quantity of plant matter, huge quantities, but always being hungry, and then supplementing on top of that. Um, it was really difficult. And in hindsight, I can see what my family was saying about me at the time, which was I wasn't happy. I was quite miserable and quite mean, and probably, in one word, it was probably hangry all the time. And I was constantly on a pursuit to make things taste the way my family were eating. So if my family were eating mac and cheese, I was trying to make a vegan version of mac and cheese just to be happy about eating. And it was hard. It was hard. Mindset also was affected, a lot of brain fog, I think. I didn't know at the time that even as a vegan vegetarian, I was insulin resistant. It was a purely carbohydrate based lifestyle. Even as a vegan vegetarian, low fat was the better way to be or to go. And so I was taught that low fat vegan vegetarian meant that even your nuts and seeds, you've got to keep it low because it's too much fat. So yeah, really hard. Different brain. I had a completely different brain.
What's that been? 3 years now on carnivore?
Yes.
Yeah. So 3 years on carnivore, you're feeling much better. PCOS is gone. How are you eating day to day?
So carnivore, so ketone to carnivore, I was eating 2 meals a day. But for the last year, I'd say I adjusted to 1 meal a day. And I made sure to take my time in that process, like eat as often as I want and as much as I want because I need to heal. I did everything Dr. Berry said. And I allowed that moving to OMAD was a natural thing. It just happened when, just about a year ago, I just felt like I don't need to eat that second meal. So day to day, I eat 1 meal a day at the end of my day, which is at about between 4 and 5 p.m. every day after work. And it's pretty much one of 5 things I eat. I eat mainly 5 things ever, which is beef, all of it. I'll eat all kinds of beef, whatever I feel like. Lamb, eggs, butter, and occasionally, once or twice a month, I really enjoy chicken. So I eat a whole bunch of chicken thighs and chicken wings. But mostly it's beef, lamb, butter, and eggs. I love my eggs. I eat 4 to 5 a day with my main one meal a day, and with beef or lamb. My favorite thing, my favorite go-to is short rib, but I'll eat everything. It'll be steak, sirloin, rump, ribeye, um, and then lamb. I'm crazy about lamb. I put a whole pot roast leg of lamb in the oven a few days ago, and that fed me for like 4 days with my eggs. And I can't
Oh,
get enough.
nice.
I love it. I love it. I love lamb and beef, really. So it's mainly five things that I stick to. Um, I cook in butter or tallow. I make my own tallow, and that's about it. I eat as much as I want. I sleep incredibly. I've got a lot of energy. I get a lot done. I'm sleeping an average of 6 hours a night. And that's my go to. I cook the same for my family. So my husband eats exactly what I eat, apart from the avo and olives and cheese that he'll add to his meals. And that's it. That's how it is all the time. And I love it. When I eat out, it's exactly the same. I'll call the cook and I'll be like, give me your biggest steak in butter and salt. That's it. No seasoning, no spices. And I'm happy. I'm happy.
Hmm. And most restaurants are happy to accommodate that.
Our culture in South Africa is that we are a big meat loving nation. We love our meat, barbecue, braai, that's what we do all the time. And yeah, they have been very accommodating. A lot of the times they don't understand. There have been one or two occasions where I've had to say, listen, if you don't cook this in butter, I'm going to die. I've got an allergy with seed oils. But for the most part, they're happy to do it. And it's easy. It's really easy. When I visit my family, they know me as well. They do the same. They prep for me beef or lamb with eggs, cook it in tallow or lard, and that's it. Yeah, it's really great.
Awesome. Um, so someone's watching now that may be suffering with PCOS or some other kind of condition, and they're thinking about giving carnivore a try. How would you recommend they get started with carnivore to give themselves the best chance of sticking with it?
I can't speak highly enough about this, Dave. I think it's critical. I think giving this a go is the difference between a happy life and a miserable life, particularly the women that want to start a family, the women that want to get off drugs and medication and birth control. Birth control is a common thing that doctors put us on in order to manage PCOS, well, in South Africa anyways. And that alone has all the side effects that it's got. Um, Start off, I think a woman that feels that they can't do this, they must do it. It's just a mental shift. I'd say start with listening to the experts and the professionals. Go onto YouTube and find the people who I think are the global leaders in health and wellness for Dr. Kiltz. Dr. Kiltz, he's a fertility specialist and he's healed a lot of women through this lifestyle. I'm a huge fan of his. And I think in the beginning, the best way for a woman to start this and give it a go is just eat anything that you want that's animal based. Don't ever consider worrying about how many calories you're getting, how often you're hungry, how many times you want to eat, what quantity you want to eat. Just eat anything that comes from an animal that's clean, that's not processed. And stick to that and be guided by your body and let your body heal. Eat as much fat as you want. And I would beg you, whichever woman are listening, to give it at least 90 days and listen to the experts. It is life-changing. It's a different reality, this idea of a woman being able to be healthy at a healthy weight, to have the freedom to have energy and fit into the clothes you want to fit into without counting calories, without going to the gym. I never went to the gym. I never did any exercise in the first 2 years of carnivore. I didn't need to. The body just changes on its own. So I think that if anyone feels like they can't do this, then they must do it and listen to the experts. Um, I can't say enough about this idea of eat as much as you want, because women feel like they have to calorie restrict to fit into their clothes and to look good and to feel good and to have confidence. And it's really not the truth. Even till today, I have to listen to my body. There are days, it's actually probably at least once a week, where my body feels like I need to eat a kilogram at least of steak. And I do. I sit down, my family's amazed. I'll sit down and I'll consume 1.2 kilograms of beef or steak, and I'll enjoy it thoroughly, and I don't have this uncomfortable full feeling. It's just what my body needs. It's probably in line with my monthly cycle, who knows, but I listen to my body, and it's incredible. There's no weight gain, there's no bloating, there's no brain fog, there's no difficulty falling asleep or waking up in the morning. So the main thing that a woman's mindset needs to overcome is this thing of calorie restriction and how much I'm allowed to eat. That's the biggest disease of the mind. And yeah, if you feel you can't, you must. Just give it a chance. It can't be worse than what you may be going through now in terms of the pain, and the medication and the hangriness.
Yeah, I must admit I don't miss that feeling at all. The feeling of being hangry is yeah, long forgotten.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. And I see that you pretty much do the same thing, Dave. You have like one meal a day. I think yours is in the early part of the day.
yeah,
Um, and the meal that you do, I can't get enough of that one as well. I think it's mostly, well, a lot of ground beef and egg.
yeah, an
Oh
egg,
my
yeah,
gosh, it's like 6 a.m. in the morning here. It's too early for me to eat, but I'm just like, I think that's my meal for today. Like half a kilogram of ground beef and eggs, lots of butter and salt. I can't wait.
yeah. And to
Yeah.
be honest, I think the best part of it is the salt. Is just that nice salty taste. It's awesome. Yeah.
And I eat as much salt as I care for. I eat a lot of salt, and there's nothing wrong. My blood pressure's perfect. I don't have water retention.
It's when I think back on it, the brainwashing about certain things that we've been through is just crazy. I remember would be 20 years ago being angry with my dad because he was using too much salt on his food. And
Wow.
it's like, don't put the salt on it without tasting the food first, and blah blah blah, that kind of old fashioned way of, and and it's ridiculous. I mean, it was table salt, so it wasn't that good anyway, but we've just brainwashed think that salt is poison, and yeah, sugar's okay, just in moderation, which they know you'll never be able to do.
No, you're 100% right. And now, what you're saying now about your dad, I remember my mom giving my dad such a hard time with all the salt that he wanted with his heart condition. And I don't know. I wish I was this age when my father was ill and alive at the time, because in hindsight, he was always hungry, and the doctor said you have to eat lean chicken, lean fish, no seafood, no beef, no lamb, no red meat. But he was allowed to eat sugar, and he was allowed to eat carbohydrates. And if at the time I knew this and I was at the right age, I don't know, could it have been different with his heart disease? Like, just cut out everything, carbs, sugar, etc., and eat your lamb, and let's see how it goes. And your salt. The poor man couldn't eat any salt. And yeah, I eat as much as I care for. We all do. And we find that the biggest difference is the sugar and the carbohydrate. And Dave, there have been some occasions over the last 3 years where I did step off my narrow path and I did eat um, some carbohydrate or nuts. For me, nuts, I react the same way as sugar. It's got quite a bit of carbohydrate. And I did step off and eat, a pie. My mother made some pies and I had to, it smelled so incredible. I had to eat it. And I can't explain the illness that comes back from that. And it comes back quickly and with a vengeance, and it lasts for 1 to 2 weeks, and it's just not worth it. I've become so sensitive, and I get so ill by those processed foods and sugar and carbs that it's why, apart from the enjoyment of carnivore, it's why I can't go back. I just get too ill from those things: inflammation, bloating, depression, crying for no reason, can't wake up in the morning, my skin breaks out, bloating, angry. So, apart from carnivore is just too delicious, I can't go back because of what it does to my body.
Eva, if people want to reach out to you, do you have a way to get in contact, like social media or anything?
I do. Not much. I mean, maybe I could share my email below or above or somewhere, but Eva August is pretty much who I am. On Facebook, I don't think I've got a YouTube account, or do I? I don't know. But Eva August, and that's the Facebook is the only place I really go. Um,
Sure. So I'll link to your profile below if that's okay.
yes, please, no
And
problem. No
yeah,
problem.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, Eva. I really appreciate your time.
And I appreciate you having me. I love your channel. I love what you're doing. I love the mission you're on. And yeah, keep up with that. I love your content. Bless you. Thanks for having me on.